What I think is that I lost my faith in what the government thinks after the Iraq War when they voted for that. So, that wasn't this government. I know you never voted for it, but some of the other people here voted for it. And for me, my trust has been diminished. I think that you're an army officer, aren't you, mate? So you know the score. I think that what we need to focus on is the humanitarian component. As you said, there's 4 million refugees inside the borders, 1 million outside the borders. This is World Refugee Day that no one seems to care about because the narrative of war is attractive to us. You don't have Xbox games about, hey, go give someone some aid on the border. You want to see destruction and war. Our militants, our leaders like to be heard being militant and bellicose, but that ain't no good for us. It's not helpful for us to exacerbate conflict in Syria because there may be chemical weapons, which I don't totally know the deal on that, but Patrick Coburn, he seems pretty up on the subject. He says it's highly dubious that they're even there, same as there weren't weapons of mass destruction. I say that we have to be extremely cautious and focus on the humanitarian issues, like our man said there.
You were there, yes, and then you at the very back there.
We thought the same about Iraq when we went, decided that, yeah, they have weapons of mass destruction, nuclear weapons, and now you seem to be pointing the same finger at Iran, especially, they just had a new president, so they should be given the,
all right, that point has been made here. You up at the back there, on the left.
Hi, I've got 2 points.
1 point, if you would.
1 point, okay. I'm actually from a Shia Muslim background, and I find that statement extremely offensive. The British government, even when we weren't like British citizens, and I find that extremely offensive.
Okay, and all right, I'll take you at the very back there, and then the woman there. Yes, you at the very back.
I found it really concerning that this week the Prime Minister said that if the conditions were right, he could arm the rebels as a country without a vote. I'd just like Ed's assurance as a cabinet minister, albeit in a coalition government, that the Liberal Democrats won't let this happen.
There is no proposal to arm the rebels at the moment, OK? We have debated it in the National Security Council. We'll have to debate it there.
What he was asking, to be...
Ed, I'm a Liberal Democrat myself. I'm pleading with you that, as a party, we won't let this happen.
Well, we know there are lots of arguments against arming the rebels. Just as Boris said, I've heard those concerns. We're debating those concerns. But the reason why it's not been taken off the table is because we want to ratchet up the pressure.
Yeah, but what about his question, which is, will you make sure that if there is a vote in the House of Commons, the vote is no?
If I answered that question, I would undermine our attempts to ratchet up the pressure. That's the whole point.
Was, will there be a vote? The question was, will there be a vote?
And there will be a vote.
There's got to be a vote.
Well,
absolutely. There's got to be a vote.
The Prime Minister has said if there was military action, there would be a vote.
Yeah.
And what would the vote be? Advisory, or would it be a vote, as the Speaker says it ought to be, which actually is decisive?
Well, if there was a vote in the House of Commons against the government policy, I think the government would have to take that as binding.
So is this an assurance that there will be a vote, at least?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's what you've got.
As I understand it, the Prime Minister said if there was military action, there would be a...
Well, you sit in Cabinet, you must know what's going on.
I do. I also sit on the National Security Council, where we debated this at length on a number of occages.
Well, debated whether there should be a parliamentary...
We had a vote on Iraq, and as you rightly say, we got that wrong.
We've debated the issue of Syria at length. We haven't debated the question that my colleague has raised, but the Prime Minister... as I understand it, that if there was military action, there'd be a vote.
OK. Yes, I'll take 1 point from you, the woman there waving her arm there.
With the new Iranian president, Mr. Rouhani, who has promised more nuclear transparency, don't you think the international community should demand the same thing from Israel?
Well, it is a curious fact that, as far as I can make out, Iran is not actually in breach of the Non-Proliferation Treaty, and I don't think a lot of people realise this. Nor is there actually yet, though, any convincing evidence that I'm aware of that Iran is actually in the process of developing a nuclear weapon. I don't mean to say that they don't intend to or they don't want to, but as far as studying the evidence that we've got that's publicly available, I'm not aware of it. I think what is going on at the moment is unquestionably to do with a desire to use the nuclear issue and the ugly, reprehensible things that the Iranian regime has said as a means of driving regime change in Tehran. I think that's basically what the United States wants. Okay. I'm not convinced that they're going to achieve it, and I think that the risk is, on the contrary, they'll just entrench that regime in power.
All right, I must go on because we've only got 10 minutes left, a bit under 10 minutes. Herman Munoz, please. Munoz, if that's the right pronunciation. Herman.
With UK average house prices rising to new highs and wages falling in real terms, should younger people get used to the idea of a lifetime of renting?
There are many, many younger people here in the audience, so we're going to have to get used to a lifetime of renting. Russell Brand, house owning, renting, prices up, you know the score.
Well, what I think is that if we continue to organise a society around protecting the privileges of people that are already rich, not prosecuting bankers, allowing people to cleverly avoid taxes, then, yeah, ordinary people are going to be penalised and aren't going to be able to fulfil the dream that Thatcher so beautifully presented us of owning our own council houses. So, unless there are significant changes over where we get our revenue from, and I might suggest people that have got loads and loads of money, people that are in the top tax bracket, yeah, like me, mate. I should pay a bit more tax. I'm happy to pay tax because, listen...
I'm sure the government would accept a voluntary contribution.
If I was going to give money to people, I tell you what, if I was going to voluntarily hand over my money, it would not be to the Tory government, man, because I don't trust them people. I don't trust any of them because they exist solely to protect the interests of the rich and powerful. They're not there for you. You know that in your hearts. So me, yeah, get used to a lifetime of renting unless you want to do something serious about it.
Boris Johnson.
It's absolutely true. I think owner-occupation in London is now beneath 50% for the first time certainly in our lifetimes. More and more people are driven to rent. The rents are skyrocketing. We've got a terrible shortage of housing overall. And the best answer is just to build more. We've got you will see in this fantastic volume, which I have no hesitation in plugging on this show, an ambition for a vision, a 2020 vision.
What is this? Can we see this? You're not allowed to show things like that.
This show,
I can't just do publicity.
I know,
it's written by you.
It's written by me. And it contains, you'll find in it, just some of the 33 opportunity areas and intensification areas that we have around London.
What about controlling rents in London so people didn't have rents that go up by?
You could.
Would you do that?
You could. I mean, I don't have this.
Rental prices in London.
You could
become an extortioner.
It is.
Okay.
There is a serious.
You wait till the microphone comes to you, which it will now, and you can say it again, because you couldn't quite hear the shouting.
When are you going to introduce a cap on rising, crippling rental prices in London?
All right. Okay.
Because it's now exceeding what an average mortgage would cost somebody.
It is. If I had the statutory power.
So they do it in New York. They have it in New York. Why not here, Boris?
All right.
You failed to meet your targets.
Can you take the microphone away now, because we've got the point. Thank you. We can still hear you, but Boris.
Well,
she says in New York.
I think
in New York it happens. I think in Germany it happens. Why not in London? Why not in Britain?
Well, in New York, they're moving away from it, actually, now. They're moving away from rent controls because the difficulty is that you choke off supply. And what we've got to do is to increase the amount of housing available. The point I was going to make before you confiscated my
I'm sure you can remember what's in it.
Is that we've got within it ambitions for those opportunity areas. Contrary to, I think, what you just said, we've built a record number of new affordable homes in London over the last 4 years. 54,000. They're affordable for people. They're both for social people who need homes for social rent, but they're also there. And I think you slightly sort of poured scorn on the idea of the home owning democracy and all that stuff and the ownership of council houses. Actually, I think there are are many hundreds of thousands of people in this city who would welcome the opportunity to get just a share of the equity.
Yeah, but what's the answer about affordable that Russell put? How many of them are affordable? What price are they at?
The answer is to build more homes.
Hey, but what are the ones you've been boasting about? What price are they at? Well, who can afford them? That was what Russell Brand was asking.
They are at normal. They are at about 17 or 18% of the newest ones are at council at normal. Social rent levels,
I think.
And we have a huge number that are part buy, part rent. And if you look at what we've done over the last 4 years, it is a record number. And far from and the programme that we've got will deliver 100,000 over the 8-year term. Now, that is far more than the previous Labour government achieved when they were awash with money. Well, I'm not denying that there is a massive shortage of housing.
I'm going to have to ask you to stop because we've only got 3 minutes left. You've had your minute. It's like just a minute. You've had your minute without repetition. I'd like to go to the woman in red there. I'm sorry, I have to stop because we've got to bring in other people.
Well, you're supporting a lovely development in the outskirts of Coulston, and their first phase under pre-application is not for the affordable housing, but it's for the ones at the top of the hill. And can I say those ones, there's 78 5-beds proposed, 200 and something 4-beds, and 200 and something 3-beds, the little 1-beds and the little 2-beds, and I am trying to talk to Croydon Council about it, and you're not having it.
But Melanie Phillips.
Well, I think there is definitely a need for more affordable housing. I think young people do have a very difficult time of it at the moment in terms of either getting on the housing ladder to buy a house or affording. And I don't think one can avoid it, saying it, that, you know, people of my generation, I mean, we saw, you know, our house prices in London become, you know, just sort of dizzyingly go into the stratosphere. Now, why that happened was quite a complicated procedure, I think, but part of the reason was, I think we were the victim of this, of London's own success, because, you know, London over this period, attracted a very large number of extremely wealthy people who were, you know, pushing up house prices.
Have young people got to get used to the idea of renting now as a lifetime's way of living?
I don't know.
Or living with their parents until they're 40?
At the moment, that is unfortunately the case. Whether that will endure is another matter.
We've got to press on, because I'll take a point from you, sir. We've got to press on, because we've only got a couple of minutes left. Yes?
I think young people have got to get used to us renting, because when we come out of university, we're already in debt, so we have to pay off that debt before we can do anything else. So,
do you resent that? Do you resent...
Yeah, because the Lib Dems promised they're not going to put up the debt, and then it goes up to 9,000. So now when you come out of uni, you've got to worry about debt, so you're starting in a minus already.
Okay.
So how can...
Davey?
Well, you will, when you leave university, you're paying less back a week, less back a month than you were previously under the old regime. We've had to take some tough decisions, but actually it's going to be easier in terms of the less money coming from your pocket when you've graduated. But to answer the question, there's no doubt about it that housing is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, social problem in London. I have 2 advice surgeries a week in my constituency where people come and see me, and the biggest problem has always been, since I became an MP in 1997, has been housing, overcrowding, poor housing, people who are homeless. I see that every week in my surgery, so this is a problem. The person asked the question is absolutely right. What can we do about it? Well, the government has been trying a huge number of initiatives to try to get the housing market working again. One of the reasons why some developers weren't building houses was because they saw house prices going down and down and down, and they didn't want to build an asset which would reduce in value. So getting the housing market working is absolutely critical, and I believe we are achieving that. I hope we will see more house building promoted by this government. You'll see, I hope, next week when the spending review is announced, that housing is a priority. We've also got to...
You must stop adding also, because I've got to stop the programme. I mean,
well, just come back. We're seeing huge investment in London, which is
hang on, Tessa, Jowell, you've got to have a say.
Myself.
Yes, you behave. 30 seconds.
The most important thing, build more homes. The Mayor's got to up his game on this.
Oh, come on, Tessa, I did better than Ken. I've done far better than Ken.
That have been built
I went far
were
better than
commissioned
Ken.
under Ken Livingstone, but also let's take all the profiteering out of the process of renting and let's get shared equity schemes, and there are 3,000 homes about to be let in the Olympic Park.
All right. Thank you for keeping it short, Tessa. And apologies those who've got your hands up. Shush, shush.
50%.
Shush, you can't go on. That's the Stop Television programme, not a mayoral press conference.
Get where I am.
Yeah, I know you do. I know you used to.